Welcome to NEXTGames' Intense Ambuscade series, March 2023 against Sahagins. Now we last saw this run about 2 years ago, and SE has made it much easier this time around. So let's delve into what's involved this run, and what's changed this time around. Now for the key item acquisition this month, you need a single Sahagin kill for your daily quest, or 3 Sahagin kills for multiple times a day. Fortunately, you want to go to the same spot for all of them, which is level 125 Unity Warp at Sea Serpent Grotto. Now if you don't have this, you also can use a gold beast coin to get through the door, but that is kind of a hike for each of your key items. Now in regards to the mobs you'll be fighting this month, the main NM is a Bozetto Songstress, which is a bard. Now in the very easy difficulty, she will be assisted by a Bozetto Wave Fist, which is a monk, and a Bozetto Flow Spear, which is a dragoon. Now on the easy difficulty, we're going to add a second Wave Fist. On normal, we're going to add a second Flow Spear. On the hard difficulty, we're actually going to add a Hydrophile, which is a White Mage mob. And on the very hard difficulty, in addition to that White Mage, we're also going to add a Chirurgeon, which is a Manta type mob and not a Sahagin. Now, in addition to all of that, you cannot damage the Bozetto Songstress when any of the Sahagins are alive. In order to damage her, you actually just need to defeat different amounts of the Sahagins. On very easy, you need to defeat 3. On easy, 4. On normal, 5. And in addition to that, all of these Sahagins will now get a regen of 3% per tick when the main NM is not silenced, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Now on difficult, you have to kill 6 Sahagins to take all of the Songstress's hit points away, and the regen moves up to 5% per tick. Additionally, the bio aura, if she is not silenced, is at 70 per tick at this stage, which is quite dangerous. Next is very difficult, where you need to defeat 8 Sahagins. The regen effect is now 15% hit points per tick when silence is off, and the Songstress herself can charm you on her difficulty, adding yet another layer of complication. Now let's go ahead and discuss the individual bosses we're going to go against and what their abilities are. The main NM, the Bozetto Songstress, which by the way is the only one that needs defeated to get this win, sings Mambos until So Voice is used, and then uses the following order of songs. They are Mambo, Minuet, then Carol, then Finale, Therendy, followed by Requiem, or Verali if you're on the very difficult difficulty. Now you can avoid all of this if you silence her. To silence her, you need to land 4 debuffs, which will then trigger the words, "The boss can barely croak the words out." You can then silence the boss, which will remove the bio aura and the regen aura from all the other Sahagin. Now let's talk about the Bozetto adds, which will use Hydro Shot, which is a reset hate ability on the target it's used on, and Spinning Fin, which is AoE stun. Additionally, the monks can also use the ability of Sucker Punch, which also resets the hate on the target, making for some tricky moments with hate during this run. Now, all can use their respective 2 hours, which can include Benediction for the White Mage, which can cure that Songstress and really prolong the fight considerably, so keep this in mind when it comes to your strategy on those higher difficulties. Now when the Songstress is silenced, the other Sahagins will begin to level up after each use of their weapon skills, so make sure you either sleep them or dispatch with them very quickly once she is silenced. Now if you fight the lesser mobs away from the Songstress, they will take significantly less damage, so it's best to fight right on top of her for your best damage output. Now all of them can be slept relatively easily, but Cleansing Bubbles will remove all debuffs from the Songstress and other mobs, so the Sleeper and Enfeebler will need to be on the lookout at all times to reapply these immediately once they're wiped. Also keep in mind that the 2 mobs that cannot be slept in this run are the main NM and the Manta, so make sure you have a way to manage both of them during your run. I suggest taking out the Manta right at the start. I also want to point out that the animation lock I am finding to be particularly challenging in this month's fight. The tank and sleeper will both need to especially be on the lookout for this, is if you get caught facing the wrong direction when they all wake up, you're going to get stuck facing that direction and unable to act, possibly ending your run for your group. I put some examples of exactly what it is I'm talking about on the right hand side there. This was my attempt to take on the normal difficulty, and even though the mobs themselves aren't overly challenging, when they all woke up, it completely locked me in place, and for I'd say over a minute, I was completely unable to move or do anything besides just continually reapply my shadows to try and keep myself alive, as my trust frantically try and cure me just to keep the run going. Now the changes to the run this time make it so that Cleansing Bubbles is used every 60 seconds instead of every 45. and the Songstress no longer has status ailment resistance. In addition to this, the time it takes for these mobs to respawn after being killed has been doubled from 90 to 180 seconds. This makes killing all of them in a single window and not seeing any respawns much easier than it was last time. Due to these changes, I recommend taking this month's run on the easy difficulty, instead of the very easy difficulty like I had previously suggested the last time around. Now if you aren't comfortable with tanking up to 4 mobs at the same time, make sure you summon a trust tank like Valnariel or Arc EV. A sleeper, such as Arc TT, can also be very helpful at slowing down especially the start of the fight while you take out that first mob. Now the rest of the slots should be filled with haste capping trust and healing trust. Now in the example you're seeing now, I went with a more minimal party with only using Sylvie, Monborough, and Yignis. As you can see, that's even plenty for this month's run. You want to start with the Flow Spear and then take out the Wave Fist. A 4-step skill chain with dual magic burst should take away a large percentage of each of the mob's health at this difficulty, so try to get that in if possible to make your run go as quickly as you can. Now in regards to groups, difficult and very difficult should be where you are aiming for this month. Now in your group, make sure you bring a solid sleeper and enfeebler, as a lot's going to be resting on their shoulders for this run, as well as a good strategy for taking down the NMs that spawn for you. I recommend taking out the Cherugian first, and then ignoring the White Mage entirely to avoid the possibility of Benediction being used. Mob placement is key on this one, so make sure your tank keeps the mob you are fighting on top of the Songstress at all times to maximize your damage output. Now multi-step skill chains did impressive damage in my test, so make sure you don't shy away from them. As you can see from the battle example that you're viewing right now, keeping shadows up this month and denying the mob's TP is key to making the run go as smoothly and quickly as possible. Successful runs should only take 2 to 3 minutes, which means this has gone from one of the more difficult easy ambuscades to one of the better ones for soloers to farm. Make sure you take advantage of it this month if you're in need of hallmarks. Be it for the March 2023 Intense Ambuscade video. I hope you found that helpful. If this was your first visit to my channel and you enjoyed the content, please be sure to click on the subscribe button under the video and click the bell icon next to it to be notified when my future videos are released. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time. Have a great month. Stay safe and stay healthy out there.